Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to host this webinar, which has been sort of initiated by Naukri.com. And the topic is very, very relevant in these times, which is managing a career amidst the current COVID crisis. Let me introduce myself. I am Sharmeen Khalid. I head HR for InfoEdge India Limited. It's a public company, it's a listed company. And we own brands like, it's a consumer internet company, and we own brands like Naukri.com, Jeevansathi.com, Shiksha.com, and 99acres.com. So I head human resources for the company. We have roughly 4,500 employees, sort of across India, and a small operation in the Gulf as well. And just a little about myself. Essentially, I have 25 years plus of experience in HR. Almost all of these in IT and IT-enabled companies. Prior to InfoEdge, I have worked with companies like Polaris Software and a few technology startups. So that's about me. It's my pleasure to also introduce you a very eminent, panel of invitees who will sort of help us through this, webinar with their wisdom and with their, lot of experience in many different type of companies and different types of industries. So I'm sure it'll be great to interact with them. So without sort of further ado, let me also introduce my panelists to you. I would like to go ahead with Ms. Vimi Chhachra. She is the CHRO of Sopra Steria India Limited. Vimi is an MBA from IIT Delhi and MCA from IMT Ghaziabad. Interestingly, she began her career as a software engineer with TCS, and then later on moved to HR, say about a decade ago. And before Sopra, she's worked with companies like Genpact and Headstrong, and currently she's the CHRO of Sopra Steria India. So welcome, Vimi.
Thank you, Sharmeen.
And I would like to go next to Ms. Anuradha Velal, National Head Talent Attraction, Coca-Cola. Anuradha is a talent architect with over decade plus years of experience in a diverse set of industries like FMCG, telecom, technology, e-commerce, and automobile industries, and across different geographies, APAC, US, and EMEA regions. And she's worked in the area of talent attraction, acquisition, and talent management, and thought leadership. And she has designed and implemented various innovative technology and workforce strategies for the organizations that she's worked in. So welcome, Anuradha. I will go next with Mr. Praveen Gupta. He is the Senior Director HR at ACOM India Private Limited. Mr. Praveen has been in HR profession for more than 30 years. And he also has a very diverse and rich experience in organizations like FMCG, Shriram Foods, Pioneer, which is a media company, Whirlpool, which is a consumer durable company, Jindal Steel, Reliance, and currently he's with ACOM, and he's working as VP HR here, which, ACOM has roughly 3,000 plus employees working in infrastructure programs, mostly with the government. And this organization is also engaged in design, consultancy, and project management services in these programs. So welcome, Praveen.
Thank you.
I will go next and introduce Dr. Lavanya Kannairam. She's the India TM lead for Caterpillar India Private Limited. And Lavanya, as the name suggests, this thing suggests she's a doctor, she's a PhD with 15 years of experience in HR from entire range of business partnering to TA, talent acquisition. She's also a simulated work environment trainer. She is also doing a Six Sigma belt training at Caterpillar right now. From Caterpillar TA team lead for resources industry segment India. She's into reading research articles and is a believer of diversity and inclusion. And she's also very passionate about student community development. So welcome, Lavanya. Pleasure to have you as part of the panel.
Thank you.
And then I will go to Ms. Babita Basak. She's Associate Director, Strategic Hiring Corporate Services for Edelweiss. Uh, Babita is an experienced people leader with a demonstrated history of working in the financial services industry at domestic and global level. She's skilled in HR transformation, change management, HR technology solution adoption, and business HR advisory. She's a solutionist on talent attraction and management agendas, and she's very passionate about driving diversity and inclusion and leadership development. So great to have such a distinguished panel, and I'm sure people who are listening to all of you will take a lot of wisdom and a lot of insights from this roughly 1.5 hour webinar session that we are going to host here. I will also take a few minutes to talk about, you know, the initiative that Naukri.com has taken to sort of help both job seekers and recruiters in these tough times. We are calling this initiative a Step Up initiative. So if you log on to Naukri.com, you will see a separate a separate header which can take you to a page which is called the Step Up initiative page. And essentially that page will help you find jobs if you're a job seeker. There are not many companies which are hiring these days. So, that particular jobs clearly lists down, that particular site clearly lists down which are the companies which are hiring right now and what kind of jobs are these. So that's one that is something that, job seekers can look forward to. Recruiters, on the other hand, can actually have easy access to people who unfortunately are being laid off or who want to move because of a lot of crisis in their workplace or because, their jobs are not safe or in general for career reasons as well. So, recruiters will have an easy access to people on that website, and they can sort of look at those people who are readily available. The page also hosts a lot of tips and suggestions for job seekers on how to go about utilizing this time, how to upskill yourself, what are the courses you can do, what are the courses which are hot, what are the jobs or industries which are hiring, and so on and so forth. There's some survey tools, there's some insights. So basically, do sort of go and check out that page and see if you find something which is of value to you. Yeah, so like I said, that is the Step Up initiative. Now coming to actually, let's deep dive into the topic that we have today, which is, managing your career amidst the current crisis. Now, honestly, I mean, all of us know, even we haven't, seen these times ever. These are unprecedented times. But what has changed in the last 3 or 4 months, I mean, March 26th or March 20th is when we sort of enter into the lockdown. Since then to now is that now people are saying that it is the new normal, right? So all the more reason. So basically, initially there was a lot of numbness. There was people were holding on. They did not know what to do. There was a lot of uncertainty. While all this continues, and we really don't know what future holds for us, but what we have, what we've also sort of seen is, or there's an agreement on, is that this is the new normal, and how to actually lead your life in this new normal, and how to lead your personal life and how to lead your professional life as well. And therefore, this topic becomes even more relevant. And actually, there's a whole range of people, right? And I just like to call that out. You could be on one side, there are people who luckily are in industries which are doing well, even despite the COVID, are in companies which are doing well because they are in those sectors. Some of them are doing well. And they themselves have a very enriching and fulfilling job right now. And they are doing sort of well in their career. So on one spectrum, you have these people for whom actually hardly anything has changed. And actually, if nothing, work is only increased because there are a lot of customers who want to buy their products or solutions or services, and they are busy servicing them. Think of Amazons of the world, or Zoom, for example. We are on Zoom. I'm sure Zoom's business must have really zoomed up, right? So on one spectrum are and imagine the life of a software engineer working in Zoom, right? I mean, so that's one spectrum. And on the other spectrum, are people who have been hugely negatively impacted because of this COVID crisis. And it could be because, they have sort of either they're in a travel industry or in the hospitality industry. And unfortunately, within that industry also, if their company doesn't have deep pockets and they cannot sustain for long, then, you know, another layer of negativity. And then on top of that, if they are in a job which is no longer needed, then they are at huge risk, and probably they have already either lost their job, or they might lose their job soon, or they have at least definitely seen a salary cut, if nothing else, or they've been sent on leaves. So this is there's a huge spectrum. And what we would like to, you know, sort of use this webinar is to actually, you know, touch upon, you know, these aspects that, you know, managing your career is a whole spectrum, and you could be managing your career differently depending on, you know, which spectrum, which side are you leaning on. Having said that, there are a few principles which remain, right? And we will talk a lot about it, I'm sure, through the panelists. What I would just like to say is that few principles, if I had to sort of say that, okay, I mean, 5 things which people should be doing. One, they have to remain positive, and they have to endure this. You know, this too shall pass, as they say. And, you know, times are such, but this will pass. So, I mean, just be positive. Be flexible, and your company might be sort of changing into something else. And can you do some new kind of job? You are trained in something else, but can you do something else? And stuff like that. So be positive, be flexible, be willing to learn new skills. Um, Keep the communication channel open, keep checking with your bosses, etc. How am I doing? How does it look like, etc. And keep yourself informed. So these are some, you know, advice and tips that I would give. And I would like to stop here and actually sort of go ahead and sort of, lean into some of the panelists in answering some of the questions which have come. There was, I mean, just to sort of reiterate, we got a lot of response, and questions are still coming. But some of the questions which we thought we will take up initially, and we can take some more questions later in the last 15-20 minutes when we can take live questions. The first question that I would like to pose to, Lavanya, Anuradha, and Babita is, you know, in this kind of an environment, it'll be great to hear from you on how to manage career progression conversation when the future is uncertain, and maybe a little on how you all are managing engagement and performance.
Thank you, Shaman. I would like to go first. Typically, the secret of success is to focus on or fighting not on the odds, but being focused on the future. How am I going to work on? The first thing that you need to do as an individual or as an employee is to deliver what is expected, what is assigned to you. Stay focused, always have the will, and align to the expectations, align to the targets. And that is going to definitely help you. As Shaman rightly said, talk up, step up and talk up and say, what are your clear definitions that you're going to deliver? Just because I'm at home, it doesn't mean that I take up everything. Just because I'm at home, I want to say no for everything. You need to understand what is your job, what is your career, how are you going to build and deliver the results. Do not concentrate on how many mails did I respond, how many calls did I respond, or how am I working. That's all the different matter. First thing is to stay positive, be humble, be authentic. That's more important. Stay connected, leverage the current scenario situation, and that's really going to help you. And have the right intentions, deliver with authenticity. That is going to help you in this current situation.
Thanks, Lavanya. So, Anuradha, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I think Lavanya pretty much summarized everything beautifully. And I kind of say that, yes, apart from whatever Lavanya has said, a couple of things that I do, right, is have a constant conversation with my manager in terms of my deliverables. I also know that, okay, there are certain areas within the organization where I can take a lead to do and work, where I know as from an organization perspective, where are the channels where I can actually step up and take up opportunities to kind of look out for cross-functional projects where they need help, because there are also certain people who are not able to contribute to the level that they could have contributed, right? So I kind of step up for them, and I also kind of have that conversation with my manager, so that it kind of brings in a simulation within the within both of us, right? Some of the things that I do regularly is keep the connect going on, and I actually talk about what are my present KPIs and how am I delivering on that. And the third thing is, I'm going to talk about, okay, here is an opportunity for me. I can stretch for so much time and I can take a stretch project. This will all enable me to see how I'm actually progressing on the existing KPI and what are the other areas that I can work upon. So in that sense, I'm able to have a constant dialogue with my manager and also kind of see to that deliver on my KPIs, which are already called out. So that is very, very important. And yes, of course, is there an opportunity for me to upskill in this given time and space? Yes, if my workload is little lesser than what it used to be, then I invest the time to upskill myself, because it's very important for you to upskill and identify what are your areas that you would like to upskill so that you could take up the next future role that you plan to. So I think this is the right time. Being at home and not able to step out or not actually wanting to step out, you can actually invest time in yourself in upskilling that. So these are some of the things that I have been doing, and this should help everybody else also to kind of take forward in terms of their discussion with regard to the existing career as well as future career progression.
Thanks, Anuradha.
Thanks, Sharmeen. I'll go next.
Yes.
I think there are three parts to the question. But if I look at the question of the career management in the current context, career management always has been a conversation in an employee's mind. It's just that the context has shifted. And what has shifted in the context is that your workplace, your work, both has changed or evolving and will look very different in future. So all that has been said by my earlier two panelists, I'll just bring in 2-3 points to that. One is that never ever underestimate the power of networking, building relationship. And this is a best time when you can look at your networks, just not from the perspective of all whom you know, but also reach out who probably have been dormant in your network periphery. Reach out to the people who can give you right advice. Reach out to the people who can act as connectors to find you probably maybe right job, maybe the kind of advice around the skill sets that you need to evolve, so and so forth. Second thing is, in this current context, what has become very evident is somewhere EQ is taking a dominance over IQ. Traditionally, from the past, if you would notice, that we always put a lot of emphasis on how intelligent one person is, how depth is there in a particular skill set. So that is now moving to a lot of other elements which are important for you to be resilient, and hence the importance of EQ. And as you probably, will be speaking to your employer or any future employer, you will find yourself being asked more how you handle pressure situation. How do you endure? How do you come up successfully? How do you manage relationships in a virtual environment? So what are your skills around this, and what can you do to develop those skills are going to not only relevant now, will become more relevant post-COVID or whenever the situation evolves into a new kind of a norm. So these are the two thoughts probably I leave you all with, apart from my earlier panelists that you have said that for you to consider. Over to you, Sharmeen.
Thanks, Babita. So yeah, thanks. I mean, these were like, great sort of insights on performance and sort of looking at career progression in these times. I would just like to sort of link it with my next question, which is, I mean, how to sort of look at productivity while everybody's working from home. And so therefore, the question which comes to my mind is, I mean, how to increase work from home productivity in these times? And what are you seeing in your organizations? How well have people adapted to something like this? And what are some of the challenges you're facing, specifically with the work from home aspects? And I would like to pose this question to Vimi and Praveen.
So yeah,
let me go ahead and start. Um, so work from home, yeah, it's really a conundrum right now, and I will like to put across 2 points here. One, how is it working right now, and what is the future of work from home
Yes.
productivity?
Yeah.
So we should not just talk about it in the current context, but is it something viable in the future is also something I want to touch upon. So if you ask me, work from home is working very well. At our company, we've gone from 0% to 100% work from home in a matter of days. And I'm not just talking about my company. I think we have numerous examples of, different companies where we have reacted, responded very well to the work from home. And there's a subtle issue here. It's about organizational resilience and individual resilience. And I've seen individuals have adapted faster than the organizations. I'm not
Yeah.
saying organizations were slow,
Yeah.
but what I've seen in the people in my organization, in 2 weeks, they were up and running. I am probably taking a longer time, less than 2 weeks, less than 1 weeks, they were up and running. I think we are all learning that when we empower and care for people, they adapt very well and they do some amazing things. We just have to give them the right tools, the right time, and I would say, the right culture to succeed. So, in a nutshell, there is no loss of productivity. I still have to validate whether there's an increase in productivity. But I can tell you, Sharmeen, none of our employees are watching Netflix instead of working from home. I say that with utmost trust and pride. Delivery issues are less, productivity is all time high, if not more than earlier. Our new ability to just do it has happened,
Yeah.
over the night. And trust in business leaders has gone up. Trust in people like me, HR leaders, and my team. Trust in all of us has gone up because we have supported our employees in this crisis and enabled them to work from home. So teams are really coming together, talking, working together like never before. And if I may give some statistics from LinkedIn, the LinkedIn Workforce Confidence Index shows that 55% of respondents now think that their industry can be effective when people are working remotely.
Yeah.
And for an industry like me in IT, this is reported to be 75%. So that's the confidence level of different companies, on the work from home. Now, taking just 2 minutes on, will this be a new reality? Twitter announced everyone can work from home forever. I mean, they've put the clause forever, right now in the crisis. And they believe the past few months have proven, we can make that work. Will this work forever? I would like to quote Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. He's after Zoom, if something is making us work from home, it's Microsoft Teams, right? So he says video calls are fine for the interim period, but these cannot be considered a replacement for
Yeah.
in-person meetings. What I miss is when you walk into a physical meeting, you're talking to the person that is next to you. You're able to connect with them for 1 or 2 minutes before and after the meeting. So yeah, now coming to, productivity tips, start at a particular time, prepare a schedule, adhere to it. I think dress properly, meal times are very important. I've reduced my food intake, because I want to be healthy, and thus I can be productive. So my new mantra is a walk every day and a glass of buttermilk. I'm sharing my healthy mantra. Have the right place to sit, keep informal conversations going, set priorities, don't be swayed by this. I've learned this term in crisis, continuous partial attention. You need to have a deliberate calm. Communication is the key. Stay in touch with your peers, teams, relevant stakeholders, use collaborative tools as effectively as you can. And last but not the least, practice self-care. Unplug, have motion in your body. Of course, we have developed, multiple guidelines, tools in our organizations, and both for employees and managers.
Awesome. Thank you, Vimi. Yeah, I mean, I think work from home has been the biggest revelation of this COVID. If you know, I think the quote is that the COVID had to happen to prove that work from home is possible. So, yeah, over to you, Praveen.
Yeah, Shaveen. So I think as I look at a lot of sentiment which has just been talked about by the panelists before me, but I think it also largely depends on the industry to industry. So I come from industry
Yeah,
which has a major
infrastructure.
portion of the work which is done on the ground, which is the project
Yes,
management
yes,
or the the construction management services as well, which obviously is not possible in a remote working situation because you have to be on the site if you are doing a supervision work for a metro project and where the actual construction is happening, then we as PMC organization have to be at the site, and which is in the current portfolio of our jobs, 70% of our jobs are around the PMC, or we work as general consultants, either for governments or for the large private players as well. But then there are 30% of the job, which is our design job, where we're helping companies, helping the government to design on the major infrastructure project, be that aviations or be it highways or airports or metros and so on and so forth. Now that's possibility. There's a possibility of that being done from home. And to me, in the last about 3 months' time, when we actually went ahead with it, we were not prepared. Let me tell you very clearly. It was not as if that mentally we were prepared to get onto a work from situation. But though in terms of the IT enablement, I think the organization pretty much ready. So we had all the tools which could enable the work from home. The biggest shift which I have seen in the last 3 months' time, a change in the manager's mindset. A lot of managers came back and said that this is not possible. People may take advantage of work from home. As rightly said, they may watch Netflix and they will be all over stuff like that because some of the managers were still living in the era of seeing people physically in the office only then to realize that they're working. That has been challenged. And I was very happy to see the last about couple of months, that mindset getting changed. Yeah. Where managers are saying, no, we're really looking at the productivity. We are looking at what are my teams producing. We're trying to bring in a clarity to the people as far as what we expect from them. And which is where I think a lot of misconceptions and a lot of clarity is emerging for the employees as well. And we talked to the employees, they also came back and said, I'm clear what I'm supposed to be doing now. So my manager is giving me much more clarity than what I was earlier because I'm out of sight right now. So, and which is where I think a lot of clarity which is brought in as well. And from the employee point of view, I think we've seen a shift in people taking a lot of ownership and accountability as well. Mm. And I can talk on my team, as I got a very big team working for me. And really, I have seen deadlines being met. Yeah. In fact, met before the timelines. Quality of work has improved to a great extent because I think people are having enough time on hand. They're saving on the travel time. They're saving on the hassles as well. The stress has gone out of the system as well, which is where people are able to gauge much better than what they were doing earlier. So those are clearly some of the pluses we have seen. But in terms of really, is it going to be the new normal? We're not very sure. Yes, to some extent it will be. So like we've done, so I represent a global organization and we engaged with Cushman & Wakefield to do a global survey about what's going to be the new normal across the world. And across the world, about 74% people said work from home is workable. Okay, in different ratios, in different percentages, but 74%. India, the response was about 84% people seemed pretty satisfied with work from home. So it's sure that work from home is going to stay, but really in what shape, in what percentage, in what kind of jobs, in what kind of territories, that we need to see and evolve. Yeah. But I think those mindsets have been broken, where organizations are willing to listen to this, look into this new aspect of work from home. And I think which was not there in, at least in our case, 6 months back. 6 months back, we are a global company, 100 countries we operate into. Few countries had their work from home policy, but not most of the countries. Today, every country is talking about that. Today, every country is coming on to the work from home policy. So I see those kind of shifts which are taking place in a very short period of time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is actually, what people are saying that this is an artificial environment where everybody is home, right? So therefore, work from home is working very well. Now, when tomorrow this goes away, then the real test will be then. I mean, how will sort of, remote working work in those kind of a situation? But yeah, I mean, even
today you don't have a choice.
Yeah. Even for us, I mean, the whole transition was very seamless. And it's like wonderful to see everybody sort of, being able to work from home. So thanks for your inputs. And this is, I mean, one question which has come a lot. And as I'm seeing the chats and Q&A section, one question which a lot of participants today are interested in knowing is this the right time to look out for a job? I mean, there's so much of uncertainty, and there is one doesn't know, etc., etc. So the number one, is this the right time to look out for a job? And if the answer is yes, how to negotiate a salary during these tough times? So, I would like to ask this question to Praveen and Anuradha.
Praveen, you want to go first?
You can go ahead, Anuradha. That's
okay.
fine.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think, is this the right time? I mean, I don't see this as a wrong time either. Okay, that's how I would like to put it across. A couple of things which are very important for any one of us to do if you're looking for a job is, it is very important for you to kind of engage your network if at all you're looking for a job, because that's very, very important to engage your network and talk to them about the opportunities that are there in the marketplace, try and understand what the opportunities is all about, and kind of do some deep dive into that, understand the skills that are required. And another important thing, which is very important if you're looking for a job in this time, is show off your transferable skills. Okay, there are certain skills which you come with or you have been using, but also see to those skills which are which you can actually work upon. There are certain skills which probably you would not have worked upon. Show them as the transferable skills and use those skills to kind of position yourself amongst the opportunities that you come across. The third most important thing, if I were any one of you looking for a job, that I would certainly do is practice a phone and a video job interviews, because that's the way it's going to be. It's very important for you all to kind of practice them and be ready for a phone interview. It's very, very important in today's date and time. And also take on a temp or a freelancing gig. There are a lot of opportunities which are temp opportunities, and see to that how you can take up on a temp opportunity and get yourself updated about what's happening in the marketplace and experience those experiences, because all of this matter a lot. And it is very important for you to explore these opportunities, because through that you might end up having actually the actual job that you're looking for. So I would encourage your people to look for those things. And the last but not the least one is showcase your remote working skills, if at all you have any, because it's very important in today's date and time. In today's date and time, I'm very specific about that, to showcase that you do have experience working remotely. You can probably showcase that about it. And the last one is about how do you stay up to date? What is happening in the marketplace? What are you doing different? What is the other companies are doing? What kind of people are they looking? It's very important for you all to focus on all of this. And I don't see a reason, if you are the right skilled person for the job, I don't see a reason why you would not get an opportunity. In fact, I have been calling all those people whom I know who have landed up in amazing opportunities since the time COVID has started, and they have actually taken a level up and greater positions in various organizations, and they have really been successful in taking up these opportunities exactly when the COVID started until now, and they're doing phenomenally well. Very, very senior people whom I know as friends, and they have taken up great opportunities. So I don't see. And coming to the second question about salary negotiations, if you are the right person and if you have the right approach to negotiating the salary for the role that you are capable of doing, I don't see that it as a challenge at all, Shameen. I have seen people with about really good hike. I can quote a personal example of my sister-in-law who is during this COVID time has joined Google to do a remote working thing. So I don't see that as a challenge at all. As long as you have skill and you're open to learn, and she's going to work on completely a different technology than what she was working on. So as long as you're ready, and as long as you're adaptable, I don't see that as a challenge at all.
Yeah.
Over to you, Praveen.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think the couple of points which I like to add, not at the cost of repeating here, is I think at this time we need to be careful. in terms of when we are looking for a job, because which is where that's a start point. And so one has to be very, very clear in terms of what are the areas which you are evaluated where you want to really look for a job. So what is it that which is not going right for you, whether it is the organization or is it really the role itself, or is it the manager, or is it compensation, whatever. There could be many factors which you need to consider, but I think it's important to really evaluate those factors, because sometimes what really happens, and I've seen it personally with having worked with many organizations, people tend to take decisions for their next job, but primarily sometimes you really realize that what they were looking for was not the right thing what they were looking at, because somebody was looking at a compensation, but he ended up getting a job which was maybe high on compensation, but really in terms of the job, in terms of his own strengths, it was not very well aligned to that as well, and which is where they got stressed out, they got frustrated. So it's important in these times to really be very, very careful where we analyze how am I placed right now, identify those gaps, and really, I would really say that if the gaps can be worked in your current job itself, that's the best thing, because you don't want to, at this point in time, get into a market, and there's always an element of risk involved when you're getting into a new job, into a new organization at this point in time. So if you can address those gaps either by talking to your mentor, talking to your manager, and sometimes these gaps could be imaginary as well. So maybe, try to, when you speak, reach out to people, I think some of the answers you get, that probably those gaps are not as huge or not as significant as one thought it ought to be. So it's first of all important to really get that reasoning very, very right. So once we have the reasoning right, I think it's going to help you to really then look at what am I looking at in terms of the industry, in terms of the role, and why am I changing this job? Am I changing the job for compensation? Or am I changing the job for some reasons which, and therefore then I need to be very, very clear, where am I looking for the job? That's very, very critical to me. And that kind of helps you take the decision and finding the right job for yourself as well. And as Anuradha said, yes, industries are hiring. There are some industries hiring, some industries are directly impacted by the COVID. They may be going slow on that. I can talk about my organization. We are hiring, though it's gone a little slow in the last about couple of months time, but we don't expect it to remain like that. We expect the hiring to pick up in the next, I would say it's already picked up, because we have the projects coming on and we have the milestone coming up. We are going ahead with the hiring plans and looking for the right fit people. So I guess that in barring few sectors, I think the sectors should be largely coming back to their hiring spree, and that's what been echoed by some of the industry leaders as well. In terms of compensation, what exactly Anurag said, yes, it's up to you. But to my experience, I think you got to be reasonable. I think really looking at a very unrealistic sort of compensation may not be the time, and which is also not be the right case, because you don't outprice yourself in the market as well. So you need to understand the market. You need to understand where does your job range lies in the market. Sometimes people have some very unrealistic expectation about the job ranges, or even about their own compensation as well, which can go wrong completely for an all. So it has to be being reasonable, being more at the ground, and then looking at things in a very objective manner.
Yeah, very valuable tips. I'm sure. I mean, the job seekers or people who are listening. Yeah.
I would like to add few points in here. That was fantastic from Ravi. And what I would like to add is clearly spell out what value you're going to bring to the organization. That should make sense to them. Like, yes, if I'm going to invest in this person, yes, the return on investment is going to be really worth it. So it should not be inflated. The skills that you want to talk about, the skills, the value addition that you talk about to the hiring person should be realistic. It shouldn't be an inflated thing. And always try to analyze your decision. When you're looking for a job or you're looking for negotiation, analyze your decision. Not just try to go and respond to a situation or respond to something that you want to jump out from. Always be mindful. That's going to help the job seekers.
Thank you. I think Vimi also raised her hand. So yeah, Vimi, go ahead.
Just an complimentary thought to what Lavanya just said. I don't think people should also short sell their skills and abilities. She said don't inflate your salary expectation and all, but I would also say don't undersell yourself. If you do it today, you'll be dissatisfied when the market is back to normal. So I am also saying for the organizations, they should also continue to hire as per the compensation structure. I know it is tough time, and we are taking different approaches and all that, but I feel we can be stronger than the virus when we come to the negotiation table and talk about our skills, and we have to be more open about doing different things and not have a convergent view to the whole situation. So don't undersell your skills and abilities.
Yeah, being confident is more important, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Thanks.
And also,
I think we got a lot of different types of inputs, and I'm hoping that the participants are satisfied with some of the answers. So, guys, people are hiring. Just note, we heard 2 companies at least in this 10 minutes. ACOM is hiring, Google is hiring, and InfoEdge is also hiring, and I'm sure a lot of other companies are also hiring. So people are hiring. So you can sort of look for a job, provided you know what is it that you want, and provided you are clear that the organization that you're looking at will fulfill your career expectations, which are not being met in your current organization. So weigh the options and then make a decision, and don't undersell yourself, and if you're confident, and don't overdo it as well. So be realistic and be firm and be assertive, and be informed completely, and take an informed decision. This is what I heard the panelists say. The only other input that I would like to add is that I think because of this current situation, there'll be a lot of jobs which will also be available, which are contractual in nature, which are more assignment based. So look at that as well, and there could be some interesting opportunities in that area as well. So look it out and check it out if, some of those things also interest you because of this work from home situation. I mean, there's no reason why every telecaller has to work in a BPO in Gurgaon. If there is an opportunity and, you're sitting in Indore, and now your company is open to hiring you, even for a contractual assignment in Indore or in Lucknow or wherever, why not? I mean, give that a chance as well. It's a different type of employment, but maybe the time has come for something like that. Okay, great. So I think from here, we will move to a poll. And the question here is, how are you making the most of the current lockdown due to COVID-19 to enhance your career? Number 1 is enrolling for an upskilling course. Great. So yeah, I mean, here also there's a lot of stuff available online now, even free, and of course paid as well, and not paid very atrociously because of all these platforms like edX or Coursera, or in fact, Naukri Learning also has a platform. So I mean, there are a whole lot of things which are available online, and check out our Step Up initiative page as well, and there also we've highlighted courses which will help you upskill yourself better. So do have a look at that as well. Okay, moving on. I think the next question is interesting. It is about, how should job seekers manage the time at hand due to lockdown to help advance their careers? And it is very nicely linked to our poll, coincidentally, where most people mentioned that they are upskilling themselves. So, I mean, that's the question. How should job seekers manage their time at hand? And what should they do to help advance their careers? So I would request Vimi, Lavanya, and Babita to share their views.
Who want to go first? Vimi? Babita?
Maybe Babita?
Sure, I'll go first. So I think one part already poll has answered, right? Where and it's heartening to know that the among the options that were there in the poll, and people are kind of doing almost all of it. I will just talk about 2 things over here. Is that it is about managing the time. So first is accepting that what the time is all about, right? And then go into that little bit of a reflection stage of understanding what skills you have and what skills would be relevant in the future, or in the current context? Where do you stand into it? What your motivations are, where your energy levels are. So taking a downtime or a pause does not is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of a strength, and it helps in such crisis situation to really take that pause and take that downtime and do a reflection. And once you have introspected and reflected upon it, just don't confine that reflection study to yourself, because that is not going to give you any result. You have to tie that up with a particular action, and that action could be many things. And that action could also come across from the point if you are reaching out to your network, your ex-managers, ex-peers, your friends, people who you know that you look up to, and they will give you the right advice. Do that and create that action plan. So, introspection, tie that up with an action which prepares you for the future job hunt that you would be doing. Second is traditionally, in the last couple of years before COVID, we always thought that specialist is the game. You really need to be specialist in an area. So if you are in human resources, the field that I belong to, you are either a learning and development specialist, or you are an HR analytics person, you are a recruiting person, so on and so forth. And so concept of center of excellences have created. And I do believe with this context from here, the whole concept of center of excellence or specialist also will transform, and more generalist skills would become more relevant. What it means is that if I'm in HR and I'm in recruiting, and if I have a fear for numbers, I better be keeping that fear at bay and start learning the numbers, because you know what? I would have to work on recruiting analytics. If I have a fear for technology and I'm not digitally savvy, I have to keep that fear, step myself up, learn technology, because I have to work in recruitment technology. So people will start looking for this, the skills which you can probably plot and can connect the dots. Similarly, domain-wise, if you are in HR, you need to learn something about finance. You need to learn about marketing. You need to learn business, so on and so forth. So don't confine, start broadening that, perspective, which earlier we used to say that, be specialist and you grow as a specialist. So career ladders used to be either a specialist or a generalist kind of a career ladder, but slowly you will find that is no more a linear like that. It is more becoming horizontal and vertical, and your movement would be much more seamless, which will make you think that you would have more than one career as an option. And you should be open to take that more than one career as an option. Don't think you would be always in an HR and in HR in particular field. You can move into finance. You can move into marketing. There are multiple examples where CHROs have moved as CEOs, or CEOs have moved as CHROs. There are enough examples of it. But those examples pre-COVID, will it become much more relevant in post-COVID? COVID, probably. And that will just not remain at that level. It will come down at every level of the organizational hierarchy. So all that you are doing as a part of the poll that you have set, just add these two lenses to that, and that will make you that will make you much more stronger in the times to come. Over to you, Lavanya or Vimi.
Fantastic. And very beautifully said, how you don't have to grow vertically or you have to go horizontally. Like if you look the career ladder, it's more of a pyramid. So first you need to work peripherally, then become a strong person so that you lay a great foundation and grow vertically in the leadership level or next level. Me personally, that to given the situation, keep the devil of fear at the bay. Typically, do not chase the fear, rather feed the fear. Answer to the fears that you have. Never miss a beat, be it an upscale, be it an upbeat or a low note, never miss a beat. Be focused. And to me as a person, be a person who can be reached for, who can be trusted for, and try to help the people who are struggling in this situation. Like they may be having little kids, they may be having elderly parents at home or in-laws. So be the person who are gonna help the other person, by which you're gonna upskill naturally as a natural progression. So you'll be seen as a person who can be trusted, who can be dependent, who can be asked for help. But stretch, definitely you gotta stretch, but have a meaningful stretch. Never overburn yourself. So when you're stretching, ensure you are given the complete accountability. You take the complete responsibility and deliver the promises and be a person who is an integral part of any job that has been assigned. Then that's really going to help you, whatever be the time, be the COVID or post-COVID time, you're going to be really successful in career decisions. Or the next thing, the prioritize, you need to know how to prioritize your job. You need to know how to prioritize your day from the morning at, suppose you're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you're going to bed at the 9 of the night. Ensure what is that you're going to do, plan for it. Planning is going to help both your professional personal life. It's going to strike a great balance if you plan well. Over to who's going to take Mimi?
Yes.
Thanks, Lavanya. Very quickly, I think both of you have summarized it very well. The one thought, which has been going in my mind is, this is probably the worst time for some sectors, to get into a job, for some people to get a job in some sectors. But probably this is the best time to get into some jobs because, you can think of a career change, which both of you said. So take it as an opportunity, if you haven't been able to make that switch in your career. I mean, Sharmeen told about me, I made a switch in my career. Whether I had time to prepare for my next career? No, it was on the job. I got into the job and then I started preparing for it. But this in between time, transition is something you can think, okay, what am I good at? Can I take this crisis as an opportunity to make the next leap in my career? I mean, I can tell you the CVs I've got on LinkedIn in last 1 month is more than what I would have got in the last 5 years, the LinkedIn requests. And I'm sure all of us are seeing that. So, and when I go through those CVs, it is great talent, and I'm selecting, okay, when I'm ready to hire, this is the person I'm marking, this is the person I need to look into detail and see. So this is a great time to, build for the future. And second point, which was coming in my mind related to gig economy is have that entrepreneur mindset. I think you cannot be fixated right now that this is what you want to do and this is what you don't want to do. But you also have to build your reputation, networking, and all we have spoken about. Particularly in IT sector where I come from, DevOps, Agile, Cloud. I think this is a golden time to upskill yourself, in these 3-4 areas because requirements are just going to go up as soon as the Corona ends, this lockdown ends. And finally, I also feel we will require more emotionally intelligent people in the future because there is a crisis and the after effects of the crisis will remain. So every company would like to hire people who are resilient and emotionally intelligent. I think it's a good time to also build on your EQ skills. Yeah.
I love that, Vimi. Emotional intelligence is really, really important at this time of unprecedented situation.
Yeah, as they say, you notice a lot of things when you slow down, right? So I mean, in this slow down, you will notice certain things and just build on them, and that could come in handy. Okay, from here we move on to a very interesting question, and this is some kind of a crystal ball gazing also. And the question is, how would the job scenario change post-pandemic? And I would invite, possibly maybe anybody who would like to sort of share their views on that, and all of you could also share your views. So it'll be good to understand from you maybe briefly, how would the job scenario change post-pandemic?
So I'll go first, Sharmeen. This also needs to be seen in the lens of the industry that one belongs to, or how the industry phenomena will pan out. Now, what has changed during the current context is that jobs output is based on computer and phone. Today, we are doing such a big live webinar is because we have network, we have phone, we have Zoom, and we have a computer. So the way the roles would be looking like is that, are the roles fully virtual? Can it be completely virtual, which means that person really doesn't need to come to office at all and can, perform that role from anywhere? Would the role be requiring not to come to office, but may have to go to fields to meet the customers, provided customers are okay to meet, right? Or would the roles still require some bit of a presence in the office, or complete presence in the office, which would be largely true if it's an R&D organization, if it's a manufacturing, so on and so forth, if it's a plant, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the way the roles are going to evolve. And with this, the context of how customer behavior changes will become important. So if customers, come with a behavior of being very cautious of having a physical distance, I'll take an example of, say, if it's a Walmart kind of a situation, you will find more delivery boys on the job rather than the cashiers, because you are doing more of a home delivery rather than going into a mall and trying to buy something. So customer behavior and your ability to perform a job from the home, depending on the dimensions of your interaction with customers, your interaction, the kind of security that needs your job. So for example, there would be roles which would require a lot of security on the data that they use, right? In financial services, that is extremely important, and not every role can be really made available over the home, or if it is required, then that kind of a spin is required. So that's how the jobs are going to evolve. Along with that, the skill sets also will change. It will transform. It will become fluid. Your functional skills today, if I'm doing, if I bring with a skill set of leadership hiring, but I also have to take care of employee experience. I also have to ensure that I'm good with numbers. I'm ensure that I'm up in my game in my HR technology, so on and so forth. So skill sets will become very fluid and very true, which I stated at the start of the webinar, that your emotional skill sets are going to take paramount. You would be required to solve problems. You would be required to think creative. You would be required to collaborate in a distributed workforce model where some are operating from office, some are operating from home. So you need to up your game. You would be required to, convince, influence, and do sales pitch over the phone or over the video, because you will not be able to see the customer face to face. So those skills will take more in relevance than what it used to be. So that's how the whole scenario is going to transform.
So do you think, any one of you would like to sort of talk about the whole gig economy? Do you think the time has come for that kind of a thing in India? Now, we always used to hear about it, but do you think, in terms of job scenario, this, gig or contractual working will sort of really take off?
Shamir, I can maybe take a shot on this. Actually, going by the industry I represent, there is already a prevalence of a huge amount of contractual manpower, because we are into on a project situation where there are specific skills which are required for a given duration time on the project as well. It could be 6 months, could be 3 years, could be whatever time, and which is where we engage a lot of contractual, and that's pretty prevalent. I think not even in India, globally as well, that's a pretty very prevalent practice, to have people who are offering those skills, and those could be really very high-end specialist skills as well, wherein the skill is required at a particular point in time during the course of the project, not during the entire duration of the project as well. And these people are pretty happy to work with, because they are not really looking at engaging themselves with a particular organization, or they're not very keen for a 9-to-5 kind of a culture, and that's not the way they have been they have been doing their careers. But I see a lot of prevalence happening within my industry as well. On the contractual, they call it gig economy, or people who are coming in short-term time frames and doing certain jobs and going away with that. The second thing, which is building upon the issue topic we talked about it. I was talking to a few of my friends in other industries, predominantly FMCG and durables, where they say there will be a lot of differentiation between the revenue generating roles and not revenue generating roles going forward. So, the non-revenue generating roles would be seen from a stricter lens. Revenue generating roles will get more prominence as we go forward. And that could be something which could change the landscape of the roles as we go forward as well. And that will really impact the skills as well the organization will be hiring for going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Sharmeen, if I can add on the contract piece bit of it, because that's a kind of a practice is there in financial services as well. And there is a different lens to it, which is cost. So we know that, you really have to balance the entire conversation around cost, revenue, productivity, performance all together. And at times what happens is that while there is a flexibility in the contractual worker or contract kind of a work, but needs to be a little thought through, because the industry that we belong to, or even in my previous organization where there was a large amount of technology workforce and we had a huge amount of contractual workforce with us. But we slowly realized that there is a value of work, and if you define the work as a core work and non-core, what you want to continue inside the organization, because there is something called intellectual property rights, there is something called labor laws, and so on and so forth. So all those things also needs to be put into perspective to see if how the gig economy will really evolve in India in various kind of industries. Consulting, can gig work? Absolutely yes. Probably is already working. I mean, you can always raise your hand and say, okay, for this particular client or these many clients, I can do these many assignments. It allows that flexibility, but it may just vary from industry to industry.
Thank you. So anybody else would like, maybe one person I can take more in sort of expressing on giving their opinion on this particular aspect of job scenario change post-pandemic. Anybody would like to speak about it? Just managing time. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I personally believe as an individual, more than an organization, as an individual, we need to stay focused. We need to stay positive. We need to stay connected and stay organized. When it comes to the gig economy, or when it comes to the part-time hire, or when you're going to become a consultant, or you're going to become a person who's going to work in part-time and going to work in different industries, you need to build that kind of resilience. You should know how you're going to perform or take a different roles in different industries or different people you're going to work. That's really going to add more value as an individual.
Okay, thank you. Lots of questions and comments on, freshers. A lot of people who are saying that, we are freshers. What is your advice to freshers and to campus hires, who are either seeing a very low inflow of jobs, or, their, joinings are being deferred also for campus hires? How should they handle this period, and what should they be doing? So what is the advice the panelists have for freshers?
I can take that, Shameen. Yes, couple of things as they should do is, they certainly should be connected with their, people from the earlier batches. They're part of the campus people. It is very important for them to do that. And networked with them in terms of what are the jobs that are available. They may not be necessarily the similar kind of jobs that their previous batch students have been in, but there could be other jobs within the organization which they can look at and be part of that. At least apply for those kind of jobs. And also today in the marketplace, since I also manage early talent for Coke, there are a lot of companies who are ready to offer projects, though not a full-time job for people, especially from the campuses. So they should be more open to take up project kind of a work, which is about for a 2-month, though not, again, it's not even an internship, I should say so, because these are not fully, which would give them and post a PPO post they do the internship, that it may not be the kind of a opportunity, but they should be more open for projects. A lot of companies, in fact, we at a larger Asia Pac level, we are opening very soon you will hear about that, is wherein we are expecting campus students to apply for projects kind of a role, because a lot of work that we have to do, but these are not regular work which would continue for a year and a half for us to be hiring these people. That said, we encourage students to apply for these roles, and we want them to come and do it for a specific period of time and then exit out. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 months, it could be, it could be within any of that range. So just be open for any such kind of opportunities in the marketplace, because there are companies, in fact, we are basing it on basis some study that we did in the market, right? So we are coming up with this kind of a thing about project-based work for campus students to enable them to kind of pick up shorter term projects and do the work and go, because it gives them an experience to kind of work. I think they should be more open for such kind of opportunities for now, and eventually be connected with the industry and with the market, and to see what are the other opportunities that are coming their way. I think this is what I have to tell them. In fact, fortunately for us, we kind of honored all the opportunities or all the people whom we offered, and we did a virtual onboarding. And given that we are a sales and a manufacturing company, we have presently given people to work out from the location that they belong to, be it interns or MTs or whoever it is, because we do understand the situation, and we have kind of honored their jobs that we had offered. That said, they need to be connected more into the marketplace and look for these, and especially they need to be connected with their group of people, because those are the people who can also influence them to come and do short-term projects. We at a regional level hire a lot of people from the campuses in terms of short projects. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to help them. But that said, they should be more open enough to take up these kind of small projects, because that's what we can offer at this point in time. At least I can speak from my company perspective that they should be open for these kind of opportunities.
That's awesome. Thank you for offering help. Vimi, I'll just come to you. I just got to know from my team that we have hit 1.5 lakh users on Facebook. Right now there are 1.5 lakh users, listening to us on Facebook. So, hi all, and I hope you're seeing value in what we're discussing here. And we will take some more questions in some time as well. And hopefully your questions will get answered, by virtue of what we are sort of answering right now. So, yeah, welcome everyone. And yeah, over to you, Vimi.
Yeah. Again, it's very, industry specific, this topic. And I'm assuming a lot of people on this call, are IT skilled. So I'd like to add one or two points. They say in India, you first become a software engineer and then you decide what to become. So this is a golden time to reflect whether this is what you want to do. I mean, you are really passionate about coding and that's why you want to go into IT, or was it just, everyone else is doing it, so let me also become a software engineer. So I think use this as a time to introspect. You're still too young, to not get worried about, okay, I'm too deep into software engineering and I cannot take a U-turn. You can easily take a U-turn at this time. When I could take a U-turn after 15 years, I'm sure you've not lost, much of the ground. Secondly, there is a hypothesis then when people come out of universities and colleges, they're only 20-30% readily employable. So we still have to work a lot on them to make them employable. And pardon me, I'm talking of ITES here. Maybe it is a different pattern in different industries. What doesn't happen in universities and colleges is the focus on the soft skills. The communication, the negotiation skills, the presentation skills, how do you need to work in a team, collaboration. Internships are great, but they are also probably happening, with one person at a time, and there's no real feel, which organizations are able to give during internship unless you call the person, on site. So use this time to build on such skills, because, I know for my company, we put the people into this path for a few months before we actually put them in front of the customers. So, if you are readily available, readily skilled, on some of these soft factors, your chances to crack in an interview will be much higher than many others who just have technical skills. So it's okay, 6 months, focus on this. And like I said earlier, focus also on some technologies which you're not taught in the universities. Maybe you are still running the Java and the COBOL and the C++ courses, but the customers are today in the cloud. So you need to learn how to put an application on the cloud and use crowdsourcing, those open projects to learn during this time. You will be much more employable than a person who's not utilized this time to upskill or learn.
Yeah, I would just like to also add that I think people have to be flexible, be open to different kind of roles during these times. There are a lot of questions and chats which I can see. People are saying that, oh, I lost my job. I am, I was into accounting, or I was, I'm losing my job. I'm in sales, and stuff like that. I think what comes to my mind is that. Maybe a lot of sales will now happen over Zoom calls or all these MS Teams, et cetera, et cetera. So how do you sort of skill yourself again now on, doing a good job of it? Also, if there are no jobs available in sales in your domain, how can you sort of restart your career by sort of looking at skills which are common to your skill in other areas? I think you might have to think about it very seriously and give it a good thought, instead of just getting stuck on, oh, I used to do sales in this kind of a company. The demand could be somewhere else. And maybe there are some complementary skills which can be used in that new job. And some will be complementary and some will be extremely new. So how do you adapt to that change? And how open and flexible are you going to be for these kinds of things? I think that's going to be very important as we go along. Anybody else would like to add anything? Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, Shubhi, just one comment here.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, Praveen, go ahead.
Just add on the campus hire. So, okay, we don't hire in big numbers, but we do hire, especially in the areas of high technical skills like the structural engineers or the planners, the cost managers, and so on and so forth. And we do that virtually every year. And we are a very diverse business, so we kind of hire these people for diversity. Obviously, there has to be recognition that in the last 3 months' time, the business landscape has changed to some bit. So whatever was projected a year back for this campus hire, that has gone a little bit of a change. The good point is that in my organization, we have honored all the offers what we have made. Yeah. But though there could be changes, you maybe at that point in time may have been hired for a particular project or a particular role. That may go a little bit of a change right now because the things have changed. So I would really say that there has to be a little bit of flexibility, adaptability to the changed situation, and the recognition of the fact that the business needs probably would have changed as well to some extent in the last 3 months' time, which is also having an impact at least for next 6 months' time, foreseeable future, if not longer. So that recognition has to be there to be ready to kind of take on challenges what the organization is coming out with.
Yeah, fair point.
I would like to add one point. Typically, from the journey from campus to the corporate, you need to take, when you see a mentor, he's not a person who's going to handhold you and take you there. So when it comes to any sort of work, my organization, very senior people keep telling you need to work with SOU, meaning sense of urgency, to the POU, meaning the point of use. Anything, the results, be it positive or negative, who's responsible? They say it's YOU. When I was very young, I was just blinking, what's that YOU? It means you. It's I who's responsible to work with sense of urgency to the point of use by upskilling my skills. But be resilient, be adaptable, be flexible and resilient as well. That's really going to help the younger generation.
Thank you.
I mean, I'll just add quick 2 things to, the participant is. One is that please do watch Sundar Pichai's commencement video when he's addressing class of 2020. You will find a lot of your answers in that, speech that he has done. It's quite motivational. Second is, do go back to your campuses and ask them to arrange a lot of industry interaction. This is the time where probably corporate would be very happy to engage and imbibe, transfer knowledge. give you practical insights, so on and so forth. I know generally the campuses follow that they have industry interaction programs, which happens at a particular period of time, so on and so forth. You now have to change that mode. Go and talk to your campuses and ask them to arrange more of that. And, which will help you to whether you want to reskill, upskill, want to know what's happening in the market, what's happening in some of the organizations, whether the campus hiring happening, not happening, whatever it would be. So that would probably help. So take charge of those things as a part of, your journey as you are preparing yourself.
Yeah, these are useful tips. And yes, Sundar Pichai's address is very, very inspiring and motivating. What is it to, pass out in a year like this, and what will future hold for them? So yeah, good suggestion, Bhavita. Now I'll sort of, there are these there are these questions which have come, and I think we have some 13 minutes left. Let's see how many of them we can take, and maybe, I'll just ask the question and, and maybe just request one panelist to answer that question briefly, so that we can take many, many more questions. There are a lot of questions which are coming from people. So maybe what we can begin with is that, what are some of the ways to approach recruiters during these times? Any tips here? So Anuradha, would you like to take this question? You're muted, Anuradha.
Yeah, sure. One is to connect through LinkedIn, certainly, and also have see who are there, whom you know within that organization. If you have a specific industry and a company that you want to reach out to, it is better is to navigate through the people whom you know from that organization and take their help to reach out to people. And of course, LinkedIn is a platform which enables people to connect with anybody and everybody in the professional aspect. So I think that's the better way to reach out, and also be following. One of the things that I as a recruiter do constantly is, I kind of follow people whom I actually want to tap into, or the organization that I want to tap into, to see what are some of the things that they are doing differently during this time, or what are some of the things that they are equipping themselves with, or even for that matter, how are the employees being internally kind of motivated. I kind of look for the cultural attributes of the organizations and the people, and I kind of navigate the system to kind of reach out to the recruiter. That's how I kind of do it, because it helps me to kind of reach to the right person, and from there on, I kind of follow it up with the recruiter. So that's typically how I manage it. It need not have to be the recruiter at the first go. It could be somebody else within the organization, and then manage to meet the recruiter. So that's the way I think is a better approach for me. It's worked, and I'm assuming it's going to work for everybody else as well.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, how to manage career gap conversations due to being laid off right now? Will it be a taboo? Vimi, would you like to take this?
Yep. No, I don't think it will be a taboo. It's a circumstance which is affecting everyone. So, it's not the fault of the employee that he or she has been laid off. It's not a normal scenario. It's probably not because of performance or potential, that somebody would be laid off. It is purely sometimes the P&L, the cost issue, the bench issue, the non-billing issue, which is leading to all this. Like I said earlier, I think this is the time when I'm getting the best CVs in my LinkedIn account and in my mailbox. And, I'm going to consider them when this time is over. So can I just, I had a short story. I'm using this time to see a lot of movies, and I was thinking, what's the best message to give to people at this time? Because things are definitely, difficult, tough. So the short story is, two little mice fell in a bucket of cream. The first mouse quickly gave up and drowned. The second mouse wouldn't quite. He struggled so hard that eventually he churned cream into butter and crawled out. So with so many people, probably without jobs, there will be more competition, no question. But it is definitely not a question of taboo. I think we as humans are resilient. We will bounce back, and we just need to believe that our strengths are, are not underrated, and we are more stronger than the virus when it comes to resilience. So I think the new normal is, or the new next is awaiting us.
Okay, thank you. Very inspiring, very motivating story. And at this stage, what I would like to share is that now on Facebook we have 2 lakh, live viewers watching our webinar, and on Zoom we have around 800 people sort of listening to this webinar. So thank you for sort of being with us, and I'm hoping that you're sort of deriving value out of this webinar and getting some of your questions answered, and we are touching upon the aspects that you were looking forward to when we were during this webinar. So coming to the next question, uh, yeah, I mean, this is a I think for women who have logged in, it's a very relevant question, especially women with children. I think there was one question which it is that how to manage work with kid who always wants to sit with me only. It's a practical issue that a lot of women who are working from home are facing.
Yeah.
So I would request a woman to answer this. Maybe Babita or Lavanya, either of you could sort of take this question.
Babita, I want to go first. Or, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lavanya. Well, I have a very simple, straightforward answer to it. Please, let your kid enjoy your work and make him or her part of your work. I think initially when people were moving into work from home, a lot of guidelines were coming that, okay, be in a professional attire, lock yourself in a room, you confine the space, define your space in the home. Everybody doesn't have that luxury. Everybody doesn't have that luxury of, having just one person, 2 person in the house and work in that kind of an environment. So make that person, that little kid, as a part of your work life and enjoy that, how the mommy works, how hard she works. And that's okay. I mean, if it's a video call and your child is along with the video call, it's okay. I think people would understand on the other part of the video call. I think that's the best I can think of, Lavanya.
Yeah, that's absolutely. A few years ago, I would say 8 years ago, when I took a day work from home, one of the meetings, they heard my son calling me Amma. They said there was a comment from the side like asking, oh, work from home or work for home. And I think you're making coffee or your son is asking something, but now, we need to shift to a different platform that is ability to accept. When this has become the new norm, and when you have the ability to accept, and before making others to understand, as an individual, as a mom, I need to understand, yes, this is the current situation. I have my kid sitting next to me. I don't have the luxury of people having people at home who can take care of my child. And he or she is going to sit next to me and see how mama is strong, how mama is answering, how mama is intelligent enough. So you build confidence in your child as well, how to look at the future. Definitely go ahead. It's okay to accept. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's a pleasure to, meet people's children while, on Zoom calls and MS Teams, and we've got to know so much about our colleagues. We always used to hear their names, their children's names, etc. But it's good to sort of say them hi, during these calls and meetings, etc., etc. And as leaders, I think it's our job to create an environment where people feel comfortable with all of this. And, it's a home at the end of the day. The fact that we are able to work from home, despite all this madness, is, sort of good enough. So yes, we have children and they will be around us and they are young. And, all organizations should, sort of just celebrate this. And managers should sort of support their team members or colleagues. In fact, in our company, there's some beautiful stories in which, there's a working couple, they don't have any other support. They had to ask the maid to leave because it was not a 24-hour maid. And now, they are alone in the house with a small child. And we have sort of been very light on such people. And we know that it's not possible for them to do 8 hours of job. And they will at max be able to do only 4 to 5 hours. And that's all right. And that's how we are supporting as an organization. And I think it's only fair that, people understand this and are okay with all this, sort of craziness at home.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe one or two more questions. There's a specific one on jobs abroad. What will be the effect on opportunities of applicants looking for jobs abroad? Would Praveen like to take this one?
Sure, Shmir, I'll do that. And as an organization, we do a lot of hiring internationally as well, and we have a lot of people who are going out. But yes, in a change situation, if I were to say, yeah, there are mobility constraints which are coming into play from the various governments as well. We have seen the US government tightening the H-1B visa norms in other countries as well. And not only that, even in the country levels as well, there is a fair amount of changes which are being done at the laws to ensure more localization of talent as well. We've seen that in our organization at various places where localization is happening. And also, I think the genetic skills are the ones which are going to be impacted, are getting impacted severely as well. But I really see a fair amount of movement when it comes to high specialized skills as well, especially in the domain which we operate into, and which is where there is a demand globally for those skills. So if I were to look at from my point of view, the people who are working in the transit sector, which is the metro sector, that's expanding virtually all over the world. If you are a specialist dealing with communication part of metro, or a specialist dealing with the rolling stock on metro, you have a demand virtually anywhere in the world you still want to be. So yes, those at a genetic level demands have diminished to a great extent, and also the localization approach at the government levels as well, which is also driving a lot of these things away. But high specialized levels, I see that demand continuing, because talent, I think, requirement is not going to fade away globally.
Yeah, that's encouraging. Of course, a lot will depend on, what kind of regulations or what kind of policies other countries have, and how willing are they to sort of open up their country
That's
for,
right.
For foreigners. So I hope that, sort of in some time, all that is back to where it used to be. So let us see.
Let's hope so, yeah.
So, on that note, I think we are nearing 6:30, and there are a lot of chats and questions on of people who have said that they have lost their jobs, or they're seeing huge salary cuts. It's really unfortunate. The general advice of the panelists I can share with you is that be patient, have endurance, be resilient, approach people through your network. I can also add from my side, since I represent Naukri, that check out the Step Up initiative on Naukri.com, where there are jobs which are available for there are jobs available, and companies which are hiring are listed there. Also, register yourself if you're laid off or if you lost your job as somebody who has lost his job, and that list is getting passed on to recruiters so that they can access your CV quickly. So these are some of the things which you should do and can do, and keep your spirits alive. And I'm sure we will sail through this very soon. And on that note, I would like to say a big thank you to my panelists. It's been a pleasure to have you on the panel and get so many interesting sort of and useful insights. I'm sure the viewers have seen value in it. And thanks to all the participants on the Zoom and Facebook who joined us and were patient enough to sort of be with us till so late in the evening. And all the best to you.